The hardest part was when we have to tell the team that I am leaving.
In our case, it was very important to find a buyer that was culturally aligned with the organization so that we can have a successful earnout.
And I asked the question, why, darling? Why do you think we are running out of money? Because you are working much more than previously. So partying hard all night, actually, and then recovering for 1 week.
Thanks everyone for coming, and it's my pleasure to open up this panel discussion conversation. And maybe we should start by a round of introduction, and you should do it for yourself. Probably that's the best. Anna, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Anna from Budapest, Hungary, and I'm Nextbit founder, as you guess. It's all started in 2019. I was still at the university, and a few of my friends, we went to hackathon competitions. It was focusing on digitalization in agriculture, and we won that hackathon. So it was really cool, and we were really motivated, and we wanted to work on this project. So continue working on it. So we started to build a startup, and this is how it started. It was really cool. I was not really sure how to build a startup because, of course, we were still young, and actually that was my first real work experience as well. And then with my co-founder, we had some conflicts or different views how we want to continue to build the startup. So we decided that it's better if we are not continuing building together. So I exited, and it was in the beginning of 2024. And now I have a new business. It's called Bee Blooms. It's a garden design, planting design company. And we want to transform green areas into more sustainable ones, which are not just beautiful, but also good for the environment. So this is in a nutshell. Thanks.
Okay, hi, my name is Gregor. My Hungarian is very bad, but I know it's Grzegorz. Is it Grzegorz? Grzegorz in Hungarian. Gregor.
The first to know one better.
So I'm Austrian, born and raised in Austria, now living nearby Vienna, Baden. Maybe somebody of you knows it. I'm a co-founder of Tepki. It's a Viennese startup, or it was a Viennese startup. It's about turning your smartphone in a mobile key for everything that is unlockable, like buildings, cars, lockers, whatever you can imagine. And we started it from actually an own need. So before starting Tepki, we were working in a company who was doing or is still doing business in the mobile network operator industry. And we had a lot of people from other countries here as regular co-workers here. And we had the problem that we always lost some physical keys, which led to a situation where we had to replace the locks on a regular basis. So we thought, hey, why not doing a proper product around it and turn your smartphone, which you already have in your pocket, into a key. So this was a long story.
If you use all your keys at the same time.
At least, hopefully the smartphone is protected because you lose more than keys, you lose all your information actually. So this was one intention. So we went to the Silicon Valley for a couple of months to explore what's going on in the smart lock industry. Came back, and then we founded Tepki. We had on our path, we had some investment rounds with a leading automotive supplier. So we were not only focusing on building access, but also automotive industry. So then the pandemic came. We decided, should we have another investment round or should we rather sell the company? And in a very heavy act of 3 years of negotiation, we sold our company in 2 stages. Yeah, and so end of last year, end of 24 actually. So I stepped out operatively from company, and since then I'm supporting startups, giving back to the startup ecosystem a bit.
And what are you doing now?
I stopped recharging my batteries at the moment, and I'm in advisory boards of companies, of startups in Vienna. I I'm a mentor and advisor from being a part of several incubator programs in Austria. I have co-founded a foundation in Austria which is supporting entrepreneurial education for Austrians, because in Austria entrepreneurship has a very bad the Austrians are not really into entrepreneurship, and this needs to be learned from the very early days of at school, actually. And this is what we are doing with this foundation. Yes, also did one or two angel investments, but already stopped it again.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. I'm András. I founded a company called Supercharge just around the corner, actually, the other side of the road. So that's a technology agency for high complexity software, mainly in the financial services and the energy space. So essentially, we didn't take any VC money, so we all bootstrapped it, but it was primarily a services business. So we were able to use the cash flows to fund the operation of the company. It became a pretty international company with 6 offices in different countries and about 220 people. And a few years ago, it got acquired by a public company from Finland. After a bit of negotiation, and we had a pretty kind of lengthy earnout, which was maybe a bit too lengthy at the end, I think. But we did realize some growth during that period, so we were quite happy with it. And that wrapped up my my kind of operational role end of last year. So a few weeks ago, I handed over to the new CEO and the company. I'm still advising the company, but not in a very active capacity like I used to. So that's the short version.
So what doing a short version will be hard. I'll try to do my best. So I'm Szabolcs Kun, or Sabkun, and I'm the founder of the Earnouts group. And we did telecommunication software development, and we could split the company later on into 2 business units. One was the so-called traditional PBX and call center software business department. You know, call center software is what you don't like. Please hold the line, and you will be redirected, and we recall your call. So that was one value proposition or product portfolio with the recurring. So it was cloud-based, and it was a mostly recurring revenue service. And the other business unit was a secure communication service module, what we call Quantform. And the interesting thing about my exit is that we did not solve the whole group. We split already the activities into different companies, but we exited the so-called traditional telecommunication software business unit, what developed the PBX and the call center softwares. And the buyer was a top 10 IT brand, Constellation Software. I never heard about that before, so if you did not hear about that, that's okay. So Constellation Software is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's a giant company with $75 billion capitalization, and they are the number 1 vertical software company. And basically, we met them end of 2024. And it was a pretty fast transaction. And last year, 31st of July was the closing. The announcement was on the 1st of August. And it's a brand new thing for me because my locking period is running out this Friday. So 3 more days at the company in an official role. And after that, I might stay as a consultant, or we will see how it goes. But this business unit was called Earnouts. So for me, for Earnouts, basically the story is ended. We will see how it goes. And we have kept with my founding partner the cybersecurity business unit, and that is the thing what we want to focus on. But that's, I think, a next
round of conversation.
Yeah, but that's what you're working on right now.
Yeah,
Right.
basically, yeah.
Nice. And yeah, first question that pops up my mind. How did you expect it to happen and how it eventually happened? So what was the biggest difference in the meaning of how you prepared for it emotionally or also in the meaning of how you handled the whole situation? Would you like to start again?
Yeah, I can. So for me, it was really different how I expected. As I mentioned, I don't have too much experience how to build a startup, so I had this idea that either I don't want to get any money, just the experience, or I want to get a lot of money, so life-changing money, and I can buy all the big house and everything. And I don't want it to have anything between. And the reality was, I get something between, and I'm totally okay with it. And I'm happy that I said, okay, the between is also an option. And in case of the time, it was also, I could say it was a surprise, but it was not really, if I'm thinking back, because I already had this feeling that it's not going good between the two of us. So I was kind of see that it's gonna happen. I was just not ready to let go the startup, my baby. So yeah, that was the two main difference.
Yeah, what did I expect actually? So the specialty of Tepki was we have been a quite fragmented cap table. So from our history, quite a lot of shareholders already on board from the very beginning and also investors. And we never really talked about what's the end goal of Tepki. Is it making it the next family business? Obviously not, because in the IT industry that's not so easy to hand over to your next generation, or to make it benefit from any profits or so. But in the end, we had the need to finance again externally or also internally. So we did a lot of bootstrapping in the very beginning. And this was the time when we sat down together and asked ourselves, what should we do now? Should we take another investment round to grow further? Or is it already the right time to sell to a strategic partner in the end? And so we came to the conclusion to sell it. My expectations, I did not really have any expectations. For me, it was always important to have a continuous path forward, to make sure the company can evolve, can grow. And one of the major aspects that we had is to make to secure the financial side of Tepki. And so this is why we decided to sell in two stages. In the first stage, we sold our shares of the non-acting shareholders, as I call them, and replace them with a strategic partner who is really vital interest to put money into the company to grow as a platform. And this is what we did. And these were the expectations from my side, and it came as it was.
And how was the emotional side?
Emotion. So my exit was actually in two parts. The one was selling the majority of the company. So in the first step, we sold 60% of the company. And so it was clear economically, this was already the exit, because if you sell the majority of a company, you need to make sure as a remaining shareholder that you have call put options, or however you call them, to have a secured path how you can sell your own shares later on. And because nobody wants to buy a minority share in a company. So the emotional part was later, actually. So the economical part was done first. So we continued to stay on board as shareholders. We continued to work as the managing directors of the company. So there was an operational challenge to do, and so this continued for us. The emotional part was when it was clear that I will leave the company and also exit my shares, because one of the reasons why we did this, or I did this, was if you're an entrepreneur, you need different skill sets and a different mindset than when you are part of a 4,000 people company. So this is very, very different. And I, for myself, decided that this story has to end at some point, and I left the company. And this was the emotional part where I knew it's going to be an end of this period.
Good. Okay, so in terms of like the expectation versus reality, I think I can join your opinion that we didn't really have this kind of like huge vision where we would see ourselves growing to 1,000 people or whatever. We just kind of kept growing each year by year and becoming bigger and bigger and setting sort of more and more ambitious targets along the way. So that kind of it was we always adjusted these expectations along the way. And in terms of when the exit itself happened, or when we signed the deal, we wanted to find a partner that was a good strategic partner for us. So not because we were primarily basically a services business, which is very reliant on the team that you have compared to a technology business where it's all about IP and you kind of you're able to change the team. In our case, it was very important to find a buyer that was culturally aligned with the organization, so that we can have a successful earnout. And we managed to do that. So that kind of met expectations with our Finnish buyer. We really had a good relationship throughout the entire earnout. The only thing that was a little bit different from our expectations, that throughout kind of the middle of our earnout, the macroeconomics changed quite a bit with inflation, with the war, with a lot of other factors that made our market more difficult. So we used to grow at like even after the acquisition, we grew like 50% year on year in terms of revenue, which is quite fast for a services business. That slowed down significantly because of the macro environment, and we had to navigate that. So that was a little bit sort of different from our expectations, but not something that we couldn't manage. Just a little bit different environment than what we were used to.
So everything was different compared to how I imagined. But basically, the more closer I go to the exit, the less different it was. So if I might roll back time with 15 years when we started as a startup, first of all, to be completely honest with you, I always had the dream, and I always had in front of my mind that one day we are going to make an exit. On the other hand, I did not really believe in that. So it's a very strange situation that you want it, you have the vision, but you never know if you're gonna go that far or you can make it or not. On the other hand, everything happens. So again, everything happened differently because I never thought that we are going to sell maybe more parts or just part of our company. We always thought that we are going to sell. This is a telecommunication software development company. We are going to sell it and we can go to the beach. And first of all, we had to understand that the company buying a call center software company will not be able to do anything with a cybersecurity team or product or customer base, and vice versa. Who's buying a cybersecurity doesn't want to have call center customers in their portfolio, and there wasn't too much cross sales, basically zero cross sales between the two. So first of all, I never thought that I'm going to exit and I'm also going to stay, because that is what happened. And the second thing was that I thought when one day I will exit, even maybe after an earnout, I'm going to stop for a while and recharge and do nothing. As we just discussed, and maybe we will talk about that later, we are just building another company right now. So laying back and doing nothing.
What's the beach?
Not yet. This is also an issue. I also live in Austria. We went to the mountains, but that's again not how I imagine. I imagine going to the beach instead of freezing my ass off. Sorry.
And how about the identity thing? Like, most people, and I also kind of built companies, a few over the last 10, 15 years, and they become one of your children in a way, right? And also people identify you. I mean, just like, oh, Anna from Scout Labs, like those things get so closely connected. So first of all, how did you experience that, that you don't have that definition anymore? And secondly, how do you see, or how have you seen your environment? How much time did it take for people around you to make that mental kind of shift?
Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, sorry.
We can turn around the game. Yeah.
Uh, I'm happy to answer this first because I think my situation is pretty special because we were Oranim Group and we did not sell the brand Oranim. So my current company is also called Oranim, and I have the right to call any of my companies in the future Oranim. What we sold was Oranim Tel. So that identity of mine is gone, but basically it's just 20% of my identity. And the other thing is that as our kept business is still running on and we are building it, and we just negotiated a great deal for the office, what we shared between the two teams. We just came to an agreement that we stay together with our sold business, and we are in the same building. So, for example, today we had our last jour fix, so weekly meeting with the management. And I went into the same office where the rest of my team was. And maybe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if I travel again to Budapest to meet my team, I'm going to go to the very same office. So this identity of mine that Oranim, CEO of Oranim or whatever, founder of Oranim, stayed with me. It did not change. Of course, when we talk about feelings, that's always a strange situation that a part of the team already has another. You said your child, so you are the mother or the father, has other parents, and they cannot come to me and complain about things because I can't do anything anymore. Yeah, it's a strange kind of situation. Again, getting back to your previous question, this isn't also the way I imagined it previously.
Okay, makes sense. Andreas?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm the founder of Supercharge, and even today, and will be forever, I guess. So that part didn't change. I'm not the CEO anymore, but the company is in really good hands, I think, that was actually very important for me in terms of making sure that is going to be run very well. And we built a professional management team in the past couple of years that essentially took over from us, from the founders. So in that sense, the company is still there. I'm still the founder, still have them time to time, not in the CEO capacity. So it's not such a massive change. Of course, I'm operationally not that involved. It takes a little bit of processing, I guess, but we had a very sort of long handover period, so enough time to process it.
Nice. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, founding a startup from the very beginning is you immensely identify with your baby from the very beginning. That's clear. You choose the colors of the logo and whatever details you take care of. And then after 10 years, you build the team around it. And as an entrepreneur, you might feel more like a family to your employees than it's maybe the employees feel it. I'm not quite sure. And if you then decide to leave a company, this is a quite harsh and emotional part. And it was not we sell it and we leave it. This was not the case. So we had plenty of time to communicate. So even when I sold my shares, I still stayed for like 7 or 8 months, and we always openly communicated to the team because there is a pride in you as a founder, and you want your baby to succeed even if you are leaving it. And so it was very important for me also keep the people into their positions and to stay there and continue to work in a larger group. So this was, and then when you leave it, you somehow lose some of your identity. And my kids always ask me, "What are you doing now?" And I'm looking into tiny houses now. And then, oh, he's looking into tiny houses now. I stopped it again, but anyways, this was my short new identity. My kids at least. And yeah, you have to find a new identity after you exited your company and left it.
You are arbeitslos right now, right?
I do quite a couple of things, but not operatively in a startup, building a new startup. This is what at the moment I don't do. And I mean, the first reflex when I exited the company was never again, never again. But this feeling of never again is somehow disappearing. And so what I really enjoyed today is to also companion other people who are building companies, discussing the very early strategic questions and so on. So this is so much of motivation, but it's not my baby. It's helping others doing so. So yes, I miss it, but there's also some energy part that you need to build it, and this is what I do not miss too much yet.
Yeah, for me, definitely that was the hardest part. And I think my identity was not that I am founder of Smart Lab or Scout Labs, but I was Smart Lab or Scout Labs. So that was even worse, that I'm equal to the company. And every time if something went wrong, or I don't know, the test failed or something, I felt like, oh my God, I am bad, not the company bad, but I am bad. And it was really, really hard. And I realized it, and now I'm processed it, and I no longer anymore neither Smart Lab or neither my new business. So yeah, and I also agree that for me it was also like kind of family. And for a long time I was the only girl in the team, so I was also like the mother of the team. And the company was really my baby. And for me the hardest part was when we have to tell the team that I am leaving. That was really hard. And even when my old customer called me that, hey, do you know any updates about this and that? And oh, sorry, I'm no longer. And it was so hard to tell them that I'm no longer in the company. And sometimes I lie to them that, oh yeah, I stepped back, so maybe you should contact him. But I didn't tell them that I was not in the company anymore. So
Yeah.
If I may reflect on that, I can definitely tell what was the most exciting day for me last year. And that was the day of the announcement that we are selling the company. And I was so goddamn nervous, about telling to the team that Aran Intel has a new owner, that the previous night I was basically unable to sleep. And I was really like an unprofessional child at home, and I was really nervous. And we put together an announcement speech, basically, and each and every word had a meaning, and it was put in a form and shape. Of course, I couldn't perform it, so I came up with a completely different speech, but the meaning was the very same, and it went really well. The team is very grown up, putting this way, so they are not my children maybe anymore, and they took it very professionally, and I was so relieved after that. But I just wanted to reflect on how nervous you can be when you have to look into the eyes of your colleagues with whom you have built something for a decade maybe, or even longer, and telling them that a new era is coming, or an era is closing, and a new chapter is going to be open. It's really exciting.
Yeah, one of the things apart from going to the beach that people envision probably about an exited founder is to spend so much time with the kids. I mean, you three, you already have kids. You will probably have some kids, but you already got just married, so congratulations. And did you really manage to focus more on your family and your kids as much as you thought you could?
if I might.
I mean, sorry, I probably
yeah, yeah.
your wife will not watching, so you can.
No. I really completely honest. I just wanted to say that it already started 3 years ago when I basically gave up the managing director position of all of our companies. So we already had four Oranim limited liability companies, sorry, and all of them had an independent managing director. And that was the time basically during COVID or after COVID, we purchased a house. We could renew that, and I was managing it. And that was maybe the most expensive thing in my life what I did. I mean, the time what I invested, especially. But we did that together with the kids. And actually, maybe I'm spending less time since the exit with my kids because I'm working again. I'm here with you guys today and taking a lot of extra things which are interesting for me. So previously I did not have the chance to get specific experiences because we were a small company, alone working, blah, blah. Now we are part of a giant organization and this is a completely new opportunity. Plus we are rebooting or focusing more on the other departments. So I guess now my children would say that the promise was selling your company will enable you to spend even more time with us. It's now the other way around. It doesn't mean that I'm not a good dad and I'm not at home. I think I'm extraordinarily have time for my children because I can bring them to school. I can pick them up at 4 o'clock. So it's already a time frame and we do a lot of things together and the weekends are free. But it did not start. Now maybe it was better 3 years ago.
András?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's definitely been pretty improving. Let's put it that way as we kind of approach the end of the earnout. I mean, when we were in like building hard and the business was scaling quite fast, and I didn't have my son yet at the time, but those weeks were like more like 60-70 hour weeks. So when you're scaling really hard. And then eventually we had the transaction and also we had to navigate, of course, the changes on the market, but basically there was a slower pace of growth, which allowed a little bit more, let's say, more relaxed management style, and we also built out the management team being conscious that eventually we will be leaving the company. So that means that pretty much for the last 2-3 years, I wasn't very involved in like the operational side of the company. Like there were people who handled different aspects of the company, which was quite necessary to have this kind of dry run before we step out of the company. So it helped a little bit with the work-life balance as well, that there are people who can pick any issues up and you are not the one who have to solve everything.
Yes, and as I understood from our conversation before we came here, you had a good timing for your kids to arrive, right?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect timing from that sense.
Nice. How about you?
Yep. So when we started this whole M&A process, this was actually during the pandemic, and this was a time where you actually had the chance to be more at home. You had to be more at home. But yeah, physically I was at home, but mentally I was not at home. So my kids, I don't know how they perceived it. I mean, they were very little ones. I did not have that capacity to take too much care of them. This is what I know when I look back. And so after the exit, I continued to work as a managing director in the company, but of course the workload and the mental workload was much lower. And now in the last year, I had a lot of time. And interestingly, my daughter, she asked me recently, so when do you actually start to work a little more again? So much at home.
You are annoying them.
Yes,
Seeing too much.
seriously.
I had a funny story with my 7-year-old son. He came to me recently before Christmas and asked me if are we running out of money. And And I asked the question, why, darling? Why do you think we are running out of money? Because you are working much more than previously. So they interpreted that when you work, you earn money. So you might run out of money because then he has to work more. So it's really, you really have to be careful how children perceive the whole thing. And it's always interesting to know what's on their mind.
Did you have a new puppy, perhaps?
Yeah, no, but so in my case, it's definitely, of course, different because I'm a woman, so I have to actually help the baby, not just raise it. So it
There are alternative solutions. It's 2026.
Yeah, but so for me, it was always a big question. So how long can I stay in the startup and still dreaming about have a baby someday? So even if we didn't have the conflict with my co-founder, probably sometimes it should happen that I will exit the company because I also wanted to have a family and I can do it to be a founder and be a mom. So right now I'm happy that I have a new company and I'm also planning how to run the company and have a baby, but I'm more flexible. It's not as crazy as in a startup. So I think I will do it and I can do it.
Sure. And without digging into your pockets, okay? To a certain level, it gave you some fortune, that you exited, right? And I'm curious how you handle that, right? So, did it give you kind of like the pleasure that people imagine it would give you, to have that kind of exit? And then what happened next day? And maybe you can start now again on that.
Okay, yeah. So it was not a really big exit, but I am happy because I could have a wedding I dreamed about. I could have a honeymoon I dreamed of without any external support. And I can have saving for starting a family and also could start a new company without having any financial problems. So I think it's okay for me. I'm happy with it.
So my experience is that we have been a very diverse set of shareholders, and whatever you define as a success, it's very relative to what you had before and where you come from. So I come from regular worker class, so there were never big numbers in terms of euros in discussion. So I was what I got was not only a bit of a money, which brings you especially freedom to operate is actually a wrong term, but it's also the experience that you get when you go through it once. And I was in the meantime, sometimes I went home and in tough times told my wife, I think we have to close down. And I was not really serious. I always believed in our company, but I sometimes was quite direct. And what I want to say is, if I would have bankrupted the company, or we would have bankrupted it, the situation would be very, very, very different to what is now. Of course. And so I'm really lucky to have kind of freedom, but also have not having failed in Austria, especially. I don't know how it is in Hungary and
He got used to bigger numbers here. Because the Hungarian forints, is like...
No, but if in Austria, if you bankrupt or crash or fail a company, it's very different compared to like the US and I don't know, maybe also in other lands, countries in Europe, because then you are somehow brand marked. And this was my bigger fear, was actually to be brand marked to bankrupt the company than whether it's a couple of euros on the bank account, to be honest. So,
András?
Yeah, look, I mean, we had a pretty we had a meaningful exit in a sense that we decided to grow the company to quite a meaningful size, and we didn't, as I mentioned, we bootstrapped it, so we made a pretty good return on the money we initially put in as founders into the company. That can be defined as like post-economic, or it's or with layman terms, it's called the fuck you money. But essentially, it's I think is a freedom what really matters. So that comes out of it. So you're free to do, what you desire, and free to say no to things, or I think that's the most meaningful. You can of course provide what you always wanted to for your family. I think that's a very very meaningful part, or do charitable things. That's also, I think, quite a nice.
Then you
feel
feel it every day. So is it something that you remind yourself about every day? I mean,
I think you have to, because otherwise you get, human mind, you get adjusted, right? Very quickly. Anything, especially if it's an upward adjustment, then that happens very, very fast. So I think you have to always remind yourself, of how lucky you are in your situation. So that's, I think, one thing. The other thing is that, of course, if such an exit happens, then you're, I think, immediately faced with a lot of different dilemmas in terms of investment, how you invest the money, how you use the money, that can put some pressure on you as well. But of course, this is a first world problem, right? So, but it is a mental, can be a mental pressure.
Said that who also had an exit, that one of the biggest pressure on him was to keep the value of the money.
Sure.
Because it can really lose value fast if you just keep it somewhere. So you have to invest it, but then you can lose your investment, and also inflation and stuff like that. How did you handle that? Or
it's like a constant dilemma, right? So like you didn't have this problem in the past, and now you obviously have to make decisions.
solving new problems.
Yeah. But it's not the hardest problems in life, I think. So it's manageable.
So,
as András said, problems might reduce into dilemmas. That's a good thing. But to share with you, after the closing next week, I already started to spend my earnings. I purchased 6 pair of new socks. That was the first big thing, and ever since that time, basically, I haven't purchased anything yet. So I won't be that exciting for you with this answer. At the moment, we are building the next chapter of our IT business with my founding partner Attila, and we have put some money into our own company. So we reinvested the money, and of course, when we sold the company, I was already pretty confident with those kind of things what I was doing at that point. Now we have earned some money, and there's again something new what I have to learn. As András said, of course these are good things what I always wanted to learn. But anyway, when you are spending your money, for example, I made some, I would say, suboptimal investments already.
the level set.
No. Oh, basically that was the closing ceremony. What you are mentioning, you got some.
That's my next question.
You got some insider info on me. I guess, but basically, for me, this new situation is a new learning curve, and I didn't feel unfree or in prison even before the exit. So I was already pretty lucky with the last 3-4 years of the company before the exit. But there's still always a higher level to go, and my imagination is pretty bright, and I can scale up things, so I can always think about larger things.
And now you mentioned celebration. How did you celebrate? I mean, Anna, your case was special in a way, of course, but I hope you still, well, I know one of the celebration was the honeymoon, of course, but how did you guys celebrate, if you celebrated? You already mentioned, sorry, but you can add, but let's give the space now to the ones who haven't mentioned it. Did you, yeah?
I don't know. So when it happened, I was still kind of sad, but also relieved that.
That's why your case is a bit different.
Yeah, but just after the exit, I went to the US for finish my master degree, and also just travel and find out what I want to do next. So we can call it a celebration, but it was alone, so it was not a big party or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so as we had an exit in two steps, the first was partying hard all night actually, and then recovering for 1 week.
Did this really happen?
Yeah, not the recovery was just 3 days, and yeah, so this was even though this was just a small portion of the economical success. When we had when we sold our shares, actually, we just had a little beer. It was strange because the emotional feelings, maybe also sadness that this is coming to an end, blocked us to party again. And so, but the first time I was a bit proud that partying still works. And somebody put me in a taxi, and I don't know.
Yeah, for us it was also some champagnes and this celebration with my co-founders, but it was the middle of COVID, so we didn't have the chance to wreck ourselves. It was online in a pub. No, it wasn't online. It was at my place, but yeah, we couldn't do the big partying until the morning. But yeah, we had the proper celebration because we actually had the announcement day on the stock market as well, which because it was a public company who bought us, so it was a very clearly marked day. So also we had some good times on the day.
Okay. Would you like to add something to the celebrations?
Yes, because I did not talk about the celebration. That was a closing ceremony. There was not big celebrations like in the Wolves of Wall Street or something. So our celebration was pretty simple. We had on the closing date. I don't know if I should talk about that, but we made a money-making celebration. And the celebration was that my founding partner came to me to Vienna, and I live by the lakeside at the Alte Donau, where you can rent e-boats, little boats for what do you do? Floating around and whatever. And basically, we just took 2 bottles of champagne to the water. We went on with our wives and waited what had to happen, the SMS. That's what we waited. And basically, when it happened, we just opened the champagne and our brain immediately switched to the next task. The next task is the announcement for the team, and I just explained to you how nervous I was. So basically, that celebration was very relieving for 2 hours or something. So I did not get drunk. I didn't need 2 days, 3 days recovery or anything. Just 2-3 hours, because it was pretty hot, and drinking on the sun is not that good idea. But anyway, it happened. And after that, we already focused on the next step. And ever since that, we did not have a celebration. So I think there are more celebrations to come in the coming years.
Yeah. So, and if someone comes to you, I mean, a young entrepreneur, even younger than you, who says, "Yeah, please give me a piece of advice. How would you do if even me?" Well, how do you think you would navigate them differently than they believe, they should do things? I mean, it's not necessarily a piece of advice, because I don't believe in pieces of advices, to be honest, but more like what's kind of like you think a misconception, or people, how they see it and how it actually is, kind of, the difference between the two, or what would you give as a kind of feedback, like you will see that differently later as you see now, but it's okay, you see it now like that, or whatever, you can approach it in many ways, but I hope you get what I'm trying to.
I think there's a weird paradox. It's better that you don't know how hard it is.
Okay.
So it's better that you are oblivious to how difficult it is. I think to build a company.
Actually, I just wanted to say, just do it. So
Just do it. Yeah.
Basically, if I would have known in advance how tough, hard road this is, or trip down the road this is, I might have thought about it twice, but I did not thought about it twice. I just rolled with it and did it. If you have this kind of personality or curiosity, you simply have to do it. Maybe you fail. This is maybe what I would validate in advance. If I can allow myself or for myself to fail. So am I in that life situation, or what kind of drawback it is going to have on my life? Will I lose? Can I afford myself losing some years, several years, if I fail? And if the answer is yes, or even if the answer is even 10% yes is good, then just go with it and do it. I think if you do not do it, you might regret it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you would add to this?
I mean, if you need found something new, you need to have a portion of naivety. And if you overthink it in the very beginning, and I'm a person, I tend to overthink things. So it was good to have a setup of also visionaries in our co-founder team. Then you would never start. And if I look into the future and see myself lying in the bed or in the last bed, then I would really regret not having tried it. And okay, I was on the lucky side, it turned out to be a success. But not having tried it, I mean, this gives so much more than just maybe some economical success. It's, if you want to build something on your own, you just have to try it. And if you really think it's about to fail, then fail fast.
Yeah.
This is maybe another advice.
I have a tough question, and it comes from a conversation I just had with someone. I'm not going to mention the name of that person, but that person has a big dilemma now. That person is advancing well in their career, getting promotions and stuff like that, and still has a brilliant idea to go for. He has to make a choice. What would you suggest that person to do? It happens sometimes, sorry.
Is she or he happy right now with the work and the career?
Yeah. But I know it's a tough question.
Yeah, it's harder if he or she is.
Why do we have to do this?
You don't have to. You don't have to. But if you just expressed, how bad you would feel if you never tried. And I'm sure you also had other options to do, right? To get a job.
My straight answer is, if you have that marvelous idea, do it, because we just expressed how we feel. But making decision based on the advice of foreigners who doesn't see your situation clearly, I think we shouldn't take this responsibility.
And can we frame that question really that would you still so much blindly jump into entrepreneurship if you had a good alternative, not as an entrepreneurial option?
Definitely. I mean, it's like if you've been through this journey, which essentially defines you as a person, who you are, your skills eventually, or what you become. And I think it's impossible to say like, oh, I stayed in a corporate job, especially if you had a meaningful exit or successful exit. Then of course it's a validation, right?
But someone feel badly.
Yeah, I think it's better to ask them. But I think that if you can afford to fail, then I think it's going to enrich you anyway, the journey. So then I think even if you end up going back to a corporate job, you probably can go back with a lot more experience, a new perspective. You can unlock new paths for yourself. So I think it should be a win.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One thing I would definitely advise, and this is also a thing on my mind, I wanted to speak out loud, that don't do it, don't start it on the number one place for the financial advantages or the economics of the whole thing, but do it for other reasons, whatever, creating value, expressing yourself, or starting a new life. I think one thing is that's very important, that financial should not be on the first place. And what I wanted to share with you, that when I think of my exit, I never think about the money. That's never the first thing on my mind. There are so many other things which are much more important what happened with this whole thing. And even if I would have exited for 10,000 euros, and I could have all those things in my resume, if it's, and don't think about a piece of paper resume, but all the experiences and two pieces of paper. All the experiences, all the memories, all the connections, these are so valuable, and those are the things which really define you.
Yeah, actually, I would like to open up the opportunity. You guys maybe want to ask questions. My kind request is that use the Sligo. I ordered it from Temu, so you can bake it. But just for the sake of recording, your voice should be so. You wanted to ask something?
Is it okay?
Yes, it's not how to say. It's not amplified. It's just for the our ring.
First of all, thanks for the. For me, this question was really important. And I think the perfect answer was what Sabo said lately. But if we open our mind and you are just said, Peter, that this person, he or she has a brilliant idea, no? Yeah. But you still had an option to partner with somebody and be a silent farmer and sell the idea, let's say in this way. So you are part of your idea, part of the team, but you can still have your corporate job and corporate career. And with your shares, I don't know how it was because I'm still not just started guy, but you can activate yourself, or if the business is going the way what you would like to see, you can be more active in this partnership. And you pretty well you just not sell your idea, but you're still in it.
Okay.
So maybe this could be also an option. Just not like black or white, it's more like gray.
Everything is gray. Mostly not black.
Especially February in general.
I mean, just to reflect on that, I would, challenge it a little bit. That I think it's hard to find anyone who would buy an idea, right? Or because ideas, everyone has great ideas. When you wake up in the morning or have a shower, you have great ideas. So that's 1%, and then 99% is the execution of that idea. I think that eventually matters more. So, if you find a co-founder for whatever idea you have, I think the first thing a smart co-founder would do is just sign some sort of an agreement with you where you have to leave your job. Otherwise, it's not really a partnership, right? So I don't think that option is really there. Unless, of course, it's something, I don't know, something with patent, a deep tech thing or something, but that's more tangible IP. Just with an idea, I think you will have to execute it yourself.
And it's also very important that I saw partnerships which could not work out or could not work long lasting because the founding partners did not had the same input. So, for example, you stay with your job and you make a side hustle, but the other is already doing full time. Then you should pay money for the other to work because so it's very, very complicated. And I was basically very lucky that I did not have to do by myself. So being a standalone founder is very, very hard. So I would definitely recommend to if you're lucky enough, have founder partners. That's very, very important. But on the other hand, if you are not in sync with your founding partner, it can be very hard to execute. And I was very lucky that despite my founding partner is 6-7 years older than I am and was a little bit in a different family situation already because he already had his son. Despite we could align our lives together and work together, and if there are big differences lifestyle-wise or life situation or financials, it's very hard to be in sync.
I have some additional comment. So I'm not a huge fan of starting some side hustles and without getting out of the comfort zone, because then you're not under pressure. And we also started like this. We started Tepke as a side project, and when we had time, we worked on it. This does not work out. I mean, there might be different personalities out there, but if you want to be an entrepreneur at some point, at least you should really put your energy into your baby. And another comment to the question before: is it a good or not good to leave like a corporate career? Somebody told me once, if you have to take a tough decision, you always need to evaluate how much effort it takes to get to the status quo before you took the decision. And if somebody's clever in a corporate career and he wants to try out things for a year or two, and it turns out he's not the right person for it, or it does not turn out to be a valid business, you can always go back into a career again. What is 1 or 2 years in a personal work career? So this, and if it's such a huge chance that you're in a career and you are the next CEO of, I don't know, Microsoft, okay, this is a different situation. But
Unfortunately, I'm not hanging out with those guys.
I would challenge you for a second here, because, for example, I would have been happy to quit my full-time job and go full-time in my startup, but I could not afford myself. So first we had to work with Attila, keeping our full-time jobs, earning money with that and covering more costs, and we did an MVP, so to say. And of course, we spent, let's say, 2 years of our lives working in night shift and doing it, but we really had zero money. So we could not quit our jobs and do it. We didn't want it to. There was no option that time, or very limited options to raise funds, and there was not culture of that. So that's getting back to the previous thing, that providing an advice on such a decision, you really have to know the circumstances, and no matter how better it could have been for us with Attila, we simply did not have the chance in that life situation to quit our jobs until we couldn't side hustle to a specific level with our business. But anyway, it really depends. If you can afford yourself, and completely with Gregor, go for it. Do it as soon as possible. The earlier the better.
If you fail,
No. I would say the earlier the better. Don't fail. Just do it.
And I think just one more I should say. I think it's also a misconception that idea is the biggest part of the startup, and everybody is looking for the big idea to start, but the idea is really just nothing compared to what you have to do after the idea. And yeah, I also agree that either you do it 110% or you don't do it. Of course, you need the financial background, but after that, it's just do it.
it's a matter of timing, actually.
Yeah.
I don't say jump out of a job in the very first second. That's not. I mean, you can have and generate a lot of ideas and concepts, but at some point you need to leave the comfort zone. Actually.
And execution is really the most important thing. So giving money or raising fund for an idea without the proof that you can also execute, it's also very hard. So idea can anybody have, and until we do not execute those are just ideas.
Yeah, and one of the other things I think is quite often happens that you have to significantly pivot your idea anyway. So it's not going to be the same idea. So just the fact that you had an idea is not that meaningful.
finally, you can ask your question.
And finally, so my question is looking back at the life cycle of your startup. was the difficulty of executing your startup, was like a difficulty level constant? Did it fluctuate? Was it like difficult in the beginning, easy in the beginning before launching? When was it the easiest and was it the hardest?
It's never getting any easier. No, it's getting, of course. But I think all stages has its own challenges. Maybe the beginning, I would say the most hard part for me. So that was my background. So after you have a little bit more people around you, a little bit more money, what flows in, and you can reinvest. And the last 5 years are uncomparable easy. Were uncomparably easy for me when I think about the first 5.
I think it's always a roller coaster. So you're going like this. But once my coach told me that, yeah, you are going this, but not linear, but like this. So it's always a roller coaster, but at least you're getting a little bit closer to the goal.
So for us, for me, it was a big change when we had. So there's a couple of steps which, from my perspective, brings more responsibility. The one is when you put some extra employees to your founding team, which brings a lot of responsibility and also a burn rate. And then the next step is you put some investors on the cap table, which you promised to grow faster with their money. And growing faster means at some point you probably need money again. So this brings in, from my perspective, a lot of complexity. If I would found again, I would really consider the question, can I do and build a business just by bootstrapping, or do we really need an external investor? For certain cases, it's absolutely needed and viable to have an external investor. But yeah, so this is a very essential question from my perspective.
Yeah, for us, it was definitely the beginning. It was the most difficult part. So there are two aspects here, I think. So one is that you're the least experienced at the beginning when you're a first-time founder, right? So you're gonna be facing a lot of challenges, and you have to be able to overcome them. Obviously, if you're a second-time founder, you would be much wiser, I think. And the other thing is that we reached profitability in probably year 3. So up until that point was a little bit tough, especially when you had to, sometimes pay for your mistakes, not pay salary for yourself or for the founders, etc. So that's usually a tough period, or even explain employees why the salary is late because your customer didn't pay you on time. So that's, I think, quite tough. And afterwards, at least for us, because we were a profitable company, it was much easier. You don't have to worry about like, oh my God, I have 30 people on payroll and my company is not profitable, so I'm burning money. So what runway I have, we didn't have this sort of an issue because we were profitable.
What would you do differently when you were starting the company with your partner? Maybe some points that we would discuss differently. And for others, as I understand, you have successful partnership. What is the secret sauce, and what was your negotiation process in the very beginning of the company, and how it was changing during the growing of the company?
May I tell my secret sauce? We were very young and very flexible. So I think about if I should redo it today. So I'm 43 now, so I should look for other founding partners or founder partners with my age. I think it's extremely hard because you're not that flexible, open-minded. You cannot adjust yourself, or you don't want to adjust yourself anymore that much to others. So, for example, I can publicly tell that I have an agreement with my founding partner. If I would do a next IT company, if our story together ends, he would be the very first one who I would call again, because he's the guy who I trust already. We already know each other, and getting this kind of experiences in a young age when you can, I don't know, sit next to in a pub next to a beer or a wine and drink, talk until 4 o'clock in the morning and accelerate your marvelous idea. This is something what you can afford when you are younger. This age, meeting people, exchanging ideas, and so on, when the family is waiting at home, it's much harder, and really you cannot dive that much deep into the other person's personality and build a good relationship. But when we have to define some ingredients into this secret sauce, honesty, transparency. Once an advisor of ours from the US told that, guys, you are brutal honest. So we had some kind of disagreement with Attila, and we were like Italians expressing our feelings, or argumentation was a little bit different, and said, guys, you are brutal honest. And I immediately told them, yeah, that's why we can stay together, and that's why he's going to come into the room also tomorrow to the office and meet you. And I think that we already had our hard times, so there were some times when we had to make adjustments or redefine or sit down together and discuss how we continue. But first of all, it was never fatal, so we never went that far. So we never let the other person to drift away. And the other thing was that we really politely but transparently, without any filters, could express what's on our mind.
Yeah, I was really lucky because my co-founders were my university friends, or even high school friends. Some of them was high school and university, and we spent I had 3 other co-founders. So with 2 of them, we spent probably 2 years living together. That's a good test, and to see if you like each other. I would definitely recommend that. But no, just putting the joke aside. I mean, even just like spending 3 months together, really intensively working every day before you kind of commit. I think it's a good test to see what the other side is like and how you can handle conflicts or disagreements. So I think bad partnership can really break a business very fast. So I think it's best that you know the other person very well.
Yeah, the same for me. I mean, 2 of the co-founders I already knew from school, so more than half of my life. And this really helps if you match in a way that you have competencies that are not overlapping but adding up each other. This helps a lot. Otherwise, you're probably always in the conflict of opinion leadership of strategic questions in a company. And yeah, I mean, if you can talk to somebody Saturday afternoon for 2 hours while walking around in the garden and knowing that this guy listens to you and respects you, this is mission critical. To really think hard about who is your co-founders. From a shareholder perspective, I mean, there were quite a couple of shareholders on boards from a historical reason, Tepki. Yeah. So this is 7 people, 7 different personalities.
Yes. Anna?
So in the beginning, for us, it was also really good and it was really working. We were also really young when we started. But I think one of the problems was also that we were really young and we were not, at least I was not aware what I signed off, that it's going to be that big and that much responsibility and everything. And the other problem, that we didn't do, that we were not shouting at each other. We were just shutting down our feelings. And we had this constantly, I don't know, we were arguing with ourselves that, I don't believe why we did it. So we're not really talking to each other with the problems, with the difficulties, with the conflicts, and that was the bad part, and that was we couldn't solve that time. Right now we have again a good relationship, so we are friends again, but in the company we were not able to talk honestly about the difficulties and the conflicts.
For the record, we never shouted with each other. We were just throwing chess.
Yeah, but actually, that's why I was imagining that you were rubber.
Now, basically, we do not filter or we do not have to be that correct politically. Basically, yeah, whatever shot that was important. But about one thing what came to my mind when you guys were talking, basic values should be pretty much the same, and maybe even the background, because if you have the kind of the same background, just like going to the same secondary school or university, spending time together, this defines a kind of value set what you bring from home or from school, and this is very important. And just to confirm what András said, I didn't say about that, but basically, we were working together with Attila for 3 years for a big corporation, and that was also a kind of thing that I know that this guy is the smartest, he knows the best, and he can work until midnight if it's necessary, and yeah, we know each other also from.
The more you speak about it, the more I feel that you are giving advice on how to find a wife or husband.
Yes.
My wife also told me that you have 2 marriages, one with me, one with Attila. So, yeah, you are right. I can confirm this.
Nice.
Thank you.
If nobody else wants to ask him the first. So I know when you bootstrap, it's probably a little bit different. It's less of the quick actions that, like, in the beginning of the startup, you're exploring, right? You're building the product, you're trying to find the market. And once you find the market, then you start scales. And then the two roles are very different, because when you start scaling, your team starts to roll, you have more like governance, like you're managing teams, you're working less on the product. How smooth was that transition for you? Was it a difficult time to transition? And if yes, like, how did you handle it?
May I try to draw a graph with my hand. So our career was 15 years. So from bootstrap or day one until exit. And the first 7 years revenue wise was this. And then it started to go like this. So the first, basically just about 50% of our career with Attila was finding the market. Regarding or getting back to trial and error periods, we had 11 products and 2 survived, and basically we were all around telecommunication software. So we never went to another domain or anything, but really finding those products which are necessary. For us, that was extremely hard. As soon as we had the revenues, so we could cover additional headcounts and look for advisors or reach out to other subcontractors. For us, it wasn't that hard, or I speak about myself. You always have to learn a lot of things, but not the transition is the hard part. It's already the good part, and you are already in the transition between finding the right spot and scaling it. Scaling, of course, has its own challenges. It can fail easily, but for me, that was already the good part.
Yeah, there's a saying which in the startup environment which says you should only hire people that are smarter than yourself, which is not too hard. But because as a startup, as an entrepreneur, you often people are generalists. So, and what I experienced myself, it's if you hire people, at least for me, it was hard to really put responsibilities away from me. So, and to tell somebody you're responsible, do it. And if you need advice or if you need help, tell me. So this was for me personally quite a challenge. But in the end, we managed it. Zeke was smarter than me.
Yeah, I agree with you that for me it was also hard to not being responsible for something and just let it go and leave it to other people. And I also really love being on the field and being with the customers. And so I really like to experience firsthand the things. And it was hard when we grew and I just get far away from the real part when it's happening. But yeah, it's also part of the job.
Yeah, for us, I mean, finding product market fit, if that was the question, I mean, it's a services company. It's quite different from a product company, but well, hopefully you need to find it on day one. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to start the business. But you still have the organizational challenges, which would come eventually. And when you get to anywhere between 30 to 50 people, I think you eventually have to start delegating aggressively and have people around you that can act autonomously. Just you give them a mission and they can execute it, and you don't have to micromanage them. And essentially, this is how you would scale the organization. And eventually, of course, as you get over 100 and 150, you need to keep repeating this. You need to have kind of a middle management layer as well, which you build, which again should be people who can execute the mission. And yeah, it's quite an interesting challenge. How you build it up consciously, and how you kind of scale in other ways, as for example scale the culture that's very informal at the beginning, and then you have to capture the essence of the culture and create like manifestations of that culture that you can scale. So there are quite a lot of interesting challenges there.
Did that come intuitively for you? How to did you just go with the flow and figure it out on the way? Did you have good mentors or coaches or someone?
No, I did not have good mentors, unfortunately, which is something I would definitely advise for everyone to find a good mentor. I think it can help tremendously and probably help you avoid some mistakes. But there are a couple of things here. So when you're growing really fast, you start feeling the growth pressure, right? If you're not an idiot, then you figure it out that probably you shouldn't handle everything yourself, right? And should let your ego go in that sense and start delegating aggressively. So essentially, I used to do this exercise quite regularly, that I looked at kind of like what I'm doing in a week. So when I was working like 70 hours a week, and I would look like shit what I'm spending 70 hours on, and put them into kind of buckets to find out like what I'm spending the most time and put priorities in terms of like what I should be spending time on definitely, and what I shouldn't be spending time. And you find some combinations where you spend quite a lot of time, but it shouldn't necessarily be you doing it, or someone else could potentially do this job, and then that's exactly what you should delegate. And you keep repeating this exercise, and then you end up growing different departments and end up having a proper management team around you after a while. So it just goes on like that.
Okay. Any last question before we lose the energy, and because we should start partying now to move up the energy level? Okay. Well, thank you so much once again. And I mean, we can still stay around for a little while if you want. And after that, we can have our secret session as well.
Okay, fine.
Thanks once again for mentioning it. And yes, and then we're going to have